President Trump on Friday called for intelligent background checks on gun purchases in response to a string of mass shootings across the country, expressing confidence that Congress would come together on action. Frankly, we need intelligent background checks, Trump told reporters as he left the White House for a fundraiser in the Hamptons. This isn't a question of NRA, Republican or Democrat, he added. Trump said he's spoken with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican of Kentucky, who he said was totally on board. The president also said he had a great talk with both Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrat of California, and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat of New York, about gun laws. I think with a lot of success that we have, I think I have a great influence now over the Senate and over the House, he said. I think we get something really good done. We can get something really good done. I think we can have some meaningful background checks. Okay, McConnell has not publicly backed any gun bills following mass shootings in El Paso and Dayton, though he did note a background checks bill backed by Senators Pat Toomey, Republican of Pennsylvania, and Joe Manchin, Democrat of West Virginia. That was a horrible slip out. Manchin doesn't vote like a Republican at all. Was once again getting attention. The bill failed to get enough votes to move through the Senate after the 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. Trump previously voiced support for stronger background checks and an increase in the age requirement to purchase certain types of weapons following the 2018 shooting at Parkland, Florida high school, but he backed, or rather Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, but he backed off amid opposition from the NRA. The president said Friday he believes there's stronger support for the issue now than following the Parkland massacre. I see a better feeling right now toward getting something meaningful done, Trump said. And we did do things after Parkland, but it wasn't to the same level that I'm talking about now. In the wake of weekend mass shootings in El Paso, Texas, and Dayton, Ohio, that left more than 30 dead, Trump's expressed support. Okay, so we've got enough of this. Look, I don't care if Trump came out and said we need to repeal the Second Amendment, which he would never do. But all of this talk about him planning to get rid of, like the current law or modify it to some extent, it's all just that talk. And this is a very simple concept to understand. When people are offered money to ensure that things don't change and they're always going to be protected from whatever that problem or epidemic is, they're very likely to take the money over solving the problem. So we've talked about the $30 million that Trump received from the NRA. And, you got to understand that group has almost, any single type of gun law you can think of, no matter what it is, whether it's background checks or something even more extreme or less or anything, they just oppose it. So, they're whispering in his ear, hey, don't bother with this, don't do this. And we're supposed to just believe that he's going to now overcome them. See, you gotta understand, with me, I really thought people, and I see a lot of people who actually are doing this, so these articles are really the ones that are pushing this idea of maybe he might change his mind this time. Everybody remembers the Las Vegas shooting, with the deadliest shooting by a lone gunman in U.S. history. He had over 50 people murdered by this, this man that gets on top of this in this hotel room and just starts firing from below, and over 500 injured. But the point is that when you have an incident to that scale that was done by one person, and it was literally almost twice as many people killed there as in these two shootings, which are still horrible. But my point is that when you look at the sheer number of murdered, that shooting is still the coup de grace of massacres. And it received national coverage and attention from Congress for maybe like 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. And then it was quietly pushed under the rug. I've only seen maybe one politician talk about it since it happened, like after the month it occurred in. And that was Sanders when he gave a speech about the last week or something. But my point is that when you see an incident like that, where it's even more people that get massacred and nothing happens after it, of any, the universal background checks are a minimum that both sides agree to, and that can't even pass with a 90% approval rating. There's no way in hell any of this other stuff is going to make it through. What's going to happen is that he's going to get McConnell to maybe bring this up for a vote. It's likely going to fail. And then after it fails, they're going to talk about, we need to do another version that appeals to more people. And then it'll just quietly get pushed into the background, kind of like how, the ACA repeal, like, oh yeah, we're going to get rid of that. And, all their bills kept falling through to where they had to sneak a provision in there in that Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, that trash, to get rid of the individual mandate. So it's going to be just like that, where the main push that they have, which is right now, falls through the cracks, and then we just kind of sit back and wait to see if another shooting happens, which it will, and then we'll get, people upset and pissed off and writing all kind of stuff to him on Twitter. And, he'll say some stuff about we need to change our laws and mental illness and blah, 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 blah. And then it'll be the exact same thing again. This is a repeated pattern. Like, we've had so many different massacres over the period of the last 3 years. And again, before that, so I'm not saying this is just a thing that started occurring under Trump. But when you have Republicans in power at a time of gun violence and at a time when they're receiving millions of dollars from a group that opposes any new gun law to combat this epidemic, you're not going to see any change. That's how corruption works. It'd be like if I had the power to, I don't know, issue some kind of bill that stops people from, what's something that they can contract manually. Let's say I decided I'm going to make it to where you have to have a, I don't know, let's say there was some bill, just as an example, just, hear me out, that made it to where people could have a higher chance of knowing if someone had AIDS that they were planning on sleeping with. And then you find out as I reject this bill that I'm getting $30 million from a group that wants people to get AIDS to, like, rid the population of people. So, like, we're going to keep getting to a point where at some point the goodwill goes out and you say, okay, that person is just looking out for their pocket. Now, I know no law like that actually exists. I'm just saying that when you have the option to put something in place that won't, we won't ever fully stop this, but, I think people agree background checks would help to mitigate this to some extent, and it won't even be put into place because the person who can do it is corrupt, as well as the underlings. So it's sad, but yeah, more bloodshed to come.